YouTube. Okay, we are good to go.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 7th board meeting and soon public hearing. So let's start by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to
the
the
republic
which
for
stands
which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor, please say aye or wave your hand. Aye. Any public comment at the beginning of the meeting today?
No callers at this time.
Thank you. Next meeting is the district meeting is on May 3rd and with a referendum the following day. And the Board of Education meeting would be on May 12th at 7 p.m. I think we may be holding the district meeting in person, but if that changes, we will let you know. So teacher non-renewals, Norm?
Sure. We do this every year. We renew, I presume they're the teachers that do not have tenure every year, and typically we hire them back. So it's pretty much our formality. Therefore, I move that the contract for the employment of Dana Markovitz, Ashley Rodriguez, Michelle Schwartz, Melody Lee, Todd Petronio, Lynanne Troiano, Carolyn DeRosa, Nicole Thecady, Kenneth Holt, Pamela Longley, Danielle Miller, Tracy Penny, Elizabeth Chody Bayruther, James Hansen, Isabel Baranski, Kate Wheeler, Amy Solomon, Kate DiMartino, Dara Sportelli, Jeff Landry, and Teresa Mountner, not be renewed for the following school year upon its expiration at the end of the 2021 school year, and that the superintendent of schools is directed to advise each of the persons in writing of this action.
I'll second.
Any comment?
I'd like to comment. I've said it before. I understand the formality of it. I understand the legalities of it. I think it's a very terrible practice in light of employee well-being, et cetera. I just disagree with it, but I just want to be on the record saying that.
Thank you, Bob.
To counter that, it would be difficult to non-renew a small group and not others, and how would you choose them? So we do this every year. It's as far as I know, it's somewhat harmless. I'm not convinced that we've had to put it into effect. So
I understand that, but I also understand that it creates stress among those employees. And at this point, in our current budget, we are not anticipating laying any of them off. And that's why I disagree with doing this, but that's my view. We can move to vote if you'd like.
I thought we have 2 FTE that we're losing at John Lyman in this current budget.
We have 3 FTEs that we're losing. And all of these folks have been advised of this by letter from the superintendent, from Doug, prior to this evening. Is my understanding. Is that correct, Doug? Can you hear me?
yeah,
I can hear you.
I think we may be ready
Yeah,
for
we
a
think-
vote,
I think Doug's frozen.
There he is.
Oh, okay. Doug, I was just asking if all these employees have been notified of this prior to this meeting.
I think it's frozen again.
I think he's frozen, but I think Kevin can safely speak to that I believe they have been. Kevin?
Yeah, that's correct, Jen. Yes, they've been basically informed prior to this action this evening. They each received letters from their principals several days before, so they were well aware of the procedure that was taking place tonight.
Thank you, Kevin.
Just to understand, can somebody explain why it's necessary? I'm just trying, because I agree with Bobby and Martina, like it's a very weird practice, and I just want to better understand why it's necessary.
Procedurally, Andy, we have to inform teachers of non-renewal according to state guidelines prior to May 1st. So Bob had mentioned the loss of 3.0 FTEs. So procedurally, I think it would put the district in a very difficult place if we didn't go through this procedure and we have to cut staff after. And I think we go through the budget process and we hope for very positive things and have it being passed. But if there were ever a drastic situation where we had to cut additional staff, it would take a lot more time, a lot more energy, a lot more involvement by our legal team to basically reduce our teacher FTEs going forward. So this is a procedural safeguard. It's there to protect the district and to save us from a lot of legal action down the road if we didn't inform staff in a timely fashion.
And the necessity of putting it out at a meeting is because of state requirements?
That's correct. That's by state statute. We must do this in open session during an April Board of Education meeting.
Thank you, Kevin. Any other comments? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
I heard a nay. Is that Bob?
Yes.
Bob, was
Did you
that?
say nay?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was me.
All right. Next item is communications. I received an email from Lindsay Dahlmeyer concerning the reasons for us not having everybody on Zoom, and Ken has shown that we did that a while ago to prevent from Zoom bombing. We had a letter from Henry Bugai thanking us on the funding of the scoreboards and asking another question. We had a question from Nick Fiella on the close contact requirements in our sports and whether or not kids can come back into the game sooner. And a letter from Jim Irish to Kim on whether or not the funding of the generator, emergency generator memorial had taken place. And those are the only communications I've had. Any others? If not, the next item is Director of Finance report. Kim?
Hi, good evening. I just had a couple things for this evening. The first is the financials, just to get that done for the month. For the month of March, financials are running at 71% expended and 77% revenue received for the general fund. I wanted to make note here because I have been speaking about our surplus, anticipated surplus. And I just wanted to note that, you know, the expenses seem to be running high at 71%. And how could you have a, surplus if you're already 71%? But the answer to that question is the Eversource reimbursements, the incentives, and the coronavirus relief funds come through as revenue source per our auditors. So, essentially what it does is, the coronavirus relief grant was really a reimbursable grant. So we paid the funds, got the money in, but it flows through as revenue, not as an offset in the actual accounts. So the overage in our revenue accounts for that surplus too. So I just wanted to clarify that if anyone was wondering about that. MTA is at 43% expended and 55% revenue received. Typically in the month of May is when we do a transfer to the general fund for the health insurance. So that 43% will increase with that transfer. And then the last thing on the financials was the capital reserve fund. The transfer has been made to cancel out the baseball warning track for $7,500 and put that into the scoreboards. And then you can see that transfer on this March report. I wanted to take the opportunity just to clarify a little bit on the American Rescue Plan and the ESSER funds reimbursement. We received new guidance that the grants are actually not subject to the supplement versus supplant that I had originally indicated were, because typically they are. But the ESSER 2 we have already earmarked for the summer learning and the learning loss in the amount of close to $200,000. But this does open up different avenues for us for the American Rescue Plan, which is in $472,000. So specifically, it says it's not subject to that. It is subject to maintenance of effort, which is really you have to expend as much. That's more of a special education calculation. And it's restricted to COVID expenditures. And it's also a progressive forward-looking grant. So they really don't want you to go back and reimburse anything. And they also direct 20% of funds must be allocated to learning loss. So there's a little bit more clarity. We received, I've done a couple state webinars and, really kind of to flesh this out. So I just wanted to pass that clarification on to you because I originally said it was supplement versus supplant. We all thought it was. It actually is not. One other thing I just want to mention this evening is the USDA has also extended the free lunch program for all students through September 30th. We estimate we break even at a meal count of about 80 meals daily. So, if we have increased, we would use 4 staff members for that, about 20 meals per staff member. If we get increased participation, we would need to increase staffing, and that would increase our break-even meals. If participation's low, we might revisit this. If we're losing money and we have very small participation, that may be a decision we may make to discontinue, or simply we have one person come in for a couple hours if they're making 5 lunches a day. So we're looking to kind of work with that. We're not under executive order like we were in the past, so we can do staffing as needed. And then, if we were to have very low participation, we also could, and in the past, the students have always had the opportunity, I know it's not ideal, but they can go to Middletown and pick up their lunches. I'm not sure how Middletown's doing if they're doing 3 days of lunches at a time, but that is also an option that we have offered in the past. I don't think anyone has taken us up on that, but that still is, we're not leaving, people without another option. So I'll give you more on that as the summer goes on. I'm assuming we will continue this through the summer of the free lunch. If we do find that we're not having any participation, I will check back and see if we want to continue the program. And if we're running at a loss, that may be another time when I might be coming back and saying I need the general fund to help offset the cap loss. And that's all I have for this evening.
Can those COVID funds help fund the meals?
They can. The American Rescue Plan can, as long as you don't have a surplus in your CAF account, which we do not. So that's one qualifier. So we can submit for those funds, yes.
So I can't see any reason where we would not want to continue it. Personal view.
Thank you, Kim. Any other comments or questions? If not, we have a recess till 8 o'clock. Time to get a cup of coffee, and we'll be back at 8 o'clock for the public hearing. But we're welcome to stay here, and we can converse.
Do we need a motion to recess?
You do not.
Ken, we would be using the same link for this?
Yes, we're on the same link.
Yes, we're on the same, just stay in the same session. I'm just going to stop the live stream and to YouTube until we're ready to go live again.
I can take this opportunity to let the dog out.
We're live.
We have about 3 minutes, I think, 2 minutes. 2 minutes. You all set, Ken?
Yep, we're good. We're live.
Well, good evening, everybody. This is a public hearing on the 2021-22 budget for the Regional School District 13. We'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. You guys. Flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Norm, can you read the call of the meeting? Norm, are you back?
Yes, I am. I don't have the call in front of me. Regrettably.
I have it.
There it is.
I will read it. All right.
I can only see half of it. That's the return. Do we have the call? Somebody, please.
I can read it.
That would be fine.
Oh, all right. Warning of public hearing for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2021-2022, Regional School District 13 of the state of Connecticut, Durham and Middlefield. Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Notice is hereby given to the residents of the town of Durham and Middlefield, which are the member towns of Regional School District 13 of the state of Connecticut, that a public hearing will be held and conducted by the Regional School District 13 Board of Education on Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 8 p.m. for the following purpose: to present and discuss the proposed budget for the next fiscal year, July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. At such time, any person may recommend the inclusion or deletion of any expenditure. Pursuant to Executive Order 7B, Order number 7B, and Executive Order number 7I by the Governor Ned Lamont, the meeting will be held via YouTube for the public to watch. A phone number will be provided for those with comments to call in. The YouTube channel and the phone number will be posted on the district website at https://www.rsd13ct.org/ on Monday, April 5th, 2021. Signed by Robert E. Moore, Chairman, Regional District 13 Board of Education, State of Connecticut, dated in Durham the 22nd day of March, 2021. And Norm, now you can read the return of the call. If
was
not,
on
I
the
can read it.
screen. Oh, there we go. Return of the call. Return is hereby made that the undersigned on the 26th day of March, 2021, caused to be posted on the public signpost in the towns of Durham and Middlefield, a written warning by the Board of Education, and on the 26th day of March, 2021, caused to be published in the Hartford Courant, a newspaper having a circulation in the towns of Durham and Middlefield, alike warning of the public hearing on the education budget to be held the 7th day of April, 2021. Signed, Robert Moore, Chairman, Regional School District 13, Board of Education.
Thank you, Norm. And now we'll start with a presentation, and Kim will share slides and I will go over them. For those in the audience, Kim Newbig is the budget director, finance director. And here's the slideshow. We'll begin for the FY 2022 Board of Education proposed budget. The next slide. The gross budget for the next year is $37,022,976. It's a 0.93% reduction from last year. This is the number that actually you will vote on at referendum. So this is the total gross budget. The net budget is $35,470,647, and it's a 2.51% increase over last year. This is a budget that we base the town tax on, and this is shown by this slide. The town tax and assessments are divided by the resident or the school population. And as you can see at the top, the Durham is 66.74% of the school population, and Middlefield is 33.26% of the population. That distributes the allocation between the two towns to $23,673,110 for Durham and $11,797,537 for Middlefield. Less from that, we subtract grants that we receive for the ECS grants for special ed, and that's in, as a town grants, from the state. And that's $3,165,000 for Durham and $1,837,504 for Middlefield. So the proposed cost to, and the calculation is the proposed net cost for 2021 is $20,507,377 for Durham, $9,960,033 for Middlefield. And the net cost over to the town from 2021 is $745,687 over last year, and $122,752 for Middlefield over last year. And that's that's the subject increase in the tax that will be required for this budget. Next slide. Kim, you can jump in if I misstate anything anywhere along here. And this is the per pupil expenditure over the last several years. You can see in the 2019 to 2020, a year ago, the RSD per pupil cost was $22,012, and which was a fairly large increase over the year prior to that, and we'll show you why in a minute. And the expected cost for this year is $22,712, or $700 increase over last year. And the estimated for next year, this is just an estimate without any final cost in the budget yet, is $23,960,000. Those costs are driven by basically student enrollment. And if you see in the next slide, the reasons why they have gone up and gone down is that in the 2019-20, we lost 112 students, which caused a high increase that year in the per pupil expenditure. Last year was a 47 reduction, and so there was a lesser increase of the $700. And this year we're estimating a loss of students of 77 students, which then drives the cost up, even though the total budget is really staying the same. Throughout all this thing, you know, that the total budget, and I'll show that at the end, has really kind of stayed flat for the last 6 or 7 years. So thank you. Next slide. The budget drivers this year are, the first one that's most important is last year, due to the COVID and the Board of Education adopting the budget without public vote, we determined with the selectmen that we needed to have a no increase in the town taxes, just to be in case there was high unemployment, there was inability of residents to pay their taxes, and so that there was no increase in the town budget last year. And we did that by using our fund balance, and we used almost $2 million of it, which is pretty much all of it, in order to offset the budget to assure that there was no increase in the town budgets last year. That left us this year with only about $384,000 of fund balance to apply to next year's budget, which is why there's such an increase in the total net budget this year. Kim Newbig throughout this year and Doug Shook from their efforts over the last 6 to 8 months have really looked very hard at saving dollars throughout the year and wherever we could, and has found another $400,000 of savings this year that we're also going to apply to the budget, further reducing the total net budget down to the number that you saw in the front of the 2.5% increase. The other cost increases are salaries, which have gone up by about 2.3% over last year. Health insurance has gone up about 14% with benefits and all the related issues related to pension and benefit and salaries and health insurance is up about a little over 1.5% over last year. And the district-wide capital needs, we'll go over that in particular, but they have gone up. We've gone to use our full 1% of our capacity that's allowed by the state of $360,000. And so there's like a $50,000 increase in our capital expenditures this year. Decreases are, the biggest decrease is our debt service. You may remember we went to a flat debt service and issued authorization for bonding a year ago. Because of energy projects and a few other things, we haven't had to actually issue that debt yet. So there's a fairly significant reduction in debt because we haven't issued those bonds yet. And we have that slide will show up in a little bit as well. We're also reducing the salaries of the staff by 3.0 full-time equivalents, and we'll show you where those are also. And also a lot of purchases services are down, things like transportation, the lack of transportation to football games and other things like that. And also a lot of areas of support. Next slide. We've kept on the established class guidelines throughout all the schools. And based on that, we've been able to reduce 2 full-time equivalents at John Lyman and 1 full-time equivalent at Strong Middle School. Again, we don't know who those are at this time, but those will be balanced off over the next couple months. Next slide. The capital, we had the original budget, we had in turf replacement for over $100,000 as part of a long-term reserve in order to pay for the replacement of the turf at the soccer and football field. But at request of the bench warmers this year, who asked us to really look into replacing the scoreboards, we agreed to do that. And we'll put up some money out of the turf replacement and some money out of other sources. And have put $27,500 into the replacement of the scoreboards at the baseball and softball fields. We anticipate $15,000 from the bench warmers next year for replacement of the scoreboards at the gym in the high school. The other major cost is a sprinkler at pump house. As we get public water in from Middletown, we had to put in a new pump house to adjust the water pressure going into the building, and that is going to be built near the entrance to the Board of Education side of the school at the high school. The classroom replacement furniture cycle is $40,000 and unanticipated breakage and other items for $30,000, which brings us to the $360,000, which is the amount of money that we can put into capital under state requirements. Next slide. This is the debt service slide, and you can see we had really put together a long-term capital plan a few years ago, which we were going to keep a steady debt of around $1.5 million a year in our budget, and we went out to authorization, but we haven't had to issue those bonds. And some of those bonds are for replacement of the culvert across Pickett Lane, a number of building improvements and the capital equipments of boilers and things like that. But we've got into an energy project and with Eversource, and we've been able to reduce the need for some of those facilities under our debt. So as a result, the debt service has gone down by about $600,000 over last year, and will go up again next year, as you see the jump up again next year as the bonds get issued this year. But we're still under that cap that we had proposed a few years ago. And then the blue lines on the bottom there, as that debt is eliminated, then you can see that the debt service drops off to quite low. So this is where we are in debt. You'll see an increase next year of $200,000+. And the next slide. And I think this is the slide that is important to the community since the last 7 years, 8 years, 7 years. The budget has really stayed flat. The gross budget back in 2015-16 was $37,517,000, and this year is $37,022,000. And the net budget to the towns on which the town tax is based is also was $35,604,000 in 2015, and this year it's $35,470,000, still about $200,000 less than it was 8 years ago. I mean, this is a very important point to this budget, that the administration and the staff and all the principals and Kim and Doug and everybody else involved in the board have tried over the last years to have really a flat budget and try to control the budget within almost no increases for the last 8 years. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to, I think that's the last slide, and turn it over to questions. Kim and other board members are here to answer anything you have. So Ken will tell you how to get in.
The phone numbers and meeting code are posted on the website and in the description of YouTube. You can call 301-715-8592, and you'll have to type in meeting code 827-1831-8064. Once again, these can be found in the YouTube description and on the district website. We currently have no callers at this time.
Any comments from the board? I'll wait a few minutes in case anybody does call. Looks like nothing, Ken.
Nobody as of yet. There are 38 people watching the YouTube stream.
Like to thank all the public who are watching and for your patience with us and for listening over the last several months as we've gone through this budget process. And hope that throughout the last month and a half of meetings that we've answered most of your questions.
Looks like Victor would like to speak.
I'd just like to comment and explain that the budget that you see us presenting now is the product of work that began in November, October.
Yes.
Kim, and if you see the board seeming not to be completely engaged in the details, it's because we too have been participating in the formation of the budget for many months. And I say that just because a year ago, Jim Irish remarked after one of our budget meetings, "That's it? You talk about this 3 times and then it's over?" And of course, we've been talking about it seemingly forever, and it goes on year after year. But please understand that what's presented here is the product of a lot of work and a lot of thought. And part of the reason that it takes so long is that every little bit of the budget is balanced against the educational needs of our children, which are not the same from year to year. So, starting with Corey and the entire instructional staff, starting with finance and Kim, starting with the office of the superintendent, this is the product of an enormous amount of work and very careful thought. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Victor. If there are no comments, we go back to our regular meeting.
Do we need a motion to adjourn the public hearing or declare that the public hearing is closed and all business completed?
Norm, that was a question to you.
I'm sorry. Would you
Do we
repeat the
need
question?
to close- Do we need to close the public hearing?
I
Do we need to
believe
formally close the public-
believe we need to formally close the public meeting and declare that all business has been completed before we go back to our regular meeting. Isn't that correct?
I think that would be appropriate.
Then I'd like to, or I think, Norm, you can declare that all business has been completed. I think it's a declaration. It's not necessarily a motion.
I would also agree with that. I think actually a motion, I presume we're still at our own meeting, but a declaration is certainly fine.
Would you like to
Okay.
make one?
I think that would be appropriate for the chair.
I'd like to declare that the public hearing is completed and all actions taken under have been completed. Thank you very much for everybody for attending, and we'll head back to our regular meeting. Thank you all. The next item on our regular meeting is the discussion of the public hearing or any comments. Thank you.
I'm pleased that we have managed to accommodate all of the comments and suggestions that we received at the public meeting.
We have. And is there any change to the budget prior to the going to the district meeting? Hearing none, the budget stands, as it stands, will go to the public meeting as it stands and to referendum. We have time now for public comment.
Oh, we do actually have a caller. Last 4 digits of the phone number. No, they disappeared. No callers at this time.
That being the case, I'd like to move that that this meeting be adjourned.
I'll second.
Any comments? All in favor, thank you very much. And thanks, Kim, for preparing all the slides. And we'll see you on December 3rd, or on May 3rd.
That sounds good, Bob.
Yeah. Just thinking ahead. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Right.